The biggest footballing rivalry, Manchester United against Liverpool, looms large again on Sunday. We've shared some memories with you with Robbie and Phil. Now in the Premier League era is something that you can do at home as well. The best ever Premier League lineup for Liverpool and Manchester United. These two have been working very hard on this, and I suggest there might be a few debatable points in it. But it'll be a lot of fun as well, because there's been some great players, obviously, to play for these two tremendous clubs down the years. Start with Manchester United. I don't think there's any surprise who the goalkeeper is.
No, the goalkeeper was probably the easiest part of the team. It was Peter Schmeichel. Obviously, Van der Sar, Fabian Barthez, even David De Gea now was probably number 2 choice, David De Gea. But Schmeichel was a man mountain. Won us games single-handedly, won us titles. So I think that was probably my easiest selection.
But couldn't keep Robbie Fowler out in these games, as we've seen. Who's in your Liverpool goal then? In the Premier League era.
Well, like obviously Phil, obviously Liverpool have had decent keepers. Obviously David James, Jerzy Dudek, but I've obviously gone for Pepe Reina because I think consistency-wise, he was probably better out of all of them. You knew what you were getting with him. He was such a big presence in goal, and he was a real character in the dressing room as well. We all know most goalkeepers are characters anyway, but he was good and he was lively and he probably perfect for the dressing room.
Do you think Liverpool got rid of him too soon?
I think they did. I really did. When you think of Liverpool's history with goalkeepers in the Premier League, they never really, after him, had that stability, if you want. I mean, we look at the current situation now with Alisson, and for years before that, I don't think anyone has been anywhere near him.
OK. You've both gone back fours. Yeah. So Manchester United, first of all, looks like this. Phil Neville.
I want to make a change at right back after what we've just seen. I think Robbie would be pulling on to my brother there every day. Look, I think my brother Rio, probably Stam and Irwin are probably the ones that I probably had to think about. You think of Nemanja Vidic, Bruce Pallister were really good centre backs that I played with. Dennis Irwin, Patrice Evra, probably them two at left back. But Stam was an animal. He was so big, so powerful. Ferdinand had class, so I think as a partnership they would be fantastic. And talk about consistency, I think them two are probably consistently wise the best fullbacks that I played with.
It's quite a big call at centre-half because Ferdinand and Vidic came as a partnership as well, didn't they?
Yeah, and I think Vidic was the next one. But Stam, for me, was the one that, when he came to United, all of a sudden we went from being a back four to actually being able to defend 1v1. He used to eat centre-forwards, and he went on to play for AC Milan, Lazio, Holland, and for me, he was the best.
You play against him?
Yes, yeah, he was. I mean, he was just an incredible defender, wasn't he? But, I mean, I loved playing against players like that because I always, not fancy myself, but I always wanted to compete against the best. And when you're competing against players like that, I think you get a measure how much of you are as a player as well.
OK, let's have a look at Liverpool's back four then in Robbie's best Liverpool
this
Premier
could
League.
start, a big debate.
That's what we're here for.
Lose friendship over this.
I know what to do. So obviously, I've gone for Rob Jones, Sammy Ipia, Van Dijk, Robertson. Robertson and Van Dijk, obviously, the modern players. Maybe that's a big debate that people can have. But I think with Van Dijk coming into the Liverpool team and being who he is, I mean, he's just an absolute colossus. And you talked before about Stam and what he is. I mean, he's every bit as good as Jaap Stam for me. Robertson, I mean, you've got like the likes of Stig and Bjornby, John Arisa, all excellent players. But I think for him and potential and what he's shown so far, I think he probably just deserves. The interesting one, obviously, is Sammy Ippi because this is ahead of my good mate Jamie Carragher. And I know when this gets aired, I'm going to get so much stick because of it. But I just think them as a partnership would be brilliant. Carra is an incredible defender. Was very focal, but I think they're maybe better. Carra would say Van Dijk's probably a better defender. And there's also the argument for, having Rob Jones as right back. Carra's probably best season, is probably professional, was 2001. Carra played the majority of games there. You've also got Jason McAtee, who could have played right side. Again, good player. He probably was better in a 3-5-2. But, I mean, I can't really stress how really good Rob Jones was because I think he was an incredible player. And obviously, no disrespect to your brother, but Rob Jones was the epitome of everything that was needed to be a top-class defender. He had the engine to get up and down. He was a top-class defender. His delivery into the box was brilliant as well. A real good lad. For me, he was different class. And, without sounding really rude here, I think if he hadn't got injured, I don't think your Gary would have had the amount of England caps he had, and that's not me being.
Well,
The rivalry started 5 days early. I was like, do you want me to stand here?
No, but you know what, he's right, because I think when Gary broke into the England squad, it was Gary and Rob Jones together in the England squad. I think the injuries killed his career, really. You know, so I was speaking to Robbie before about Trent Alexander-Arnold now, who I'm a massive fan of. I think to myself, you've got two modern-day ones. You think he's probably might be able to get up to that level in the next probably 12 months, really, but maybe not at this moment in time. So the modern back four that Klopp's got has actually got some really good defenders in.
OK.
I can't believe Carragher's not in, though.
Hello, you're starting. He's trying to get the Liverpool lad on to be
right, Manchester United midfield, which is a midfield 2.
Yeah. Well, our success was based on 4-4-1-1.
So why are you going for 2 then, Phil?
Well, it's just that Steve hasn't produced the left wing and right wing at the moment in time. So Keane and Scholes were just the best. You know, you think, who else has played in that era? Nicky Butt obviously was a really good player. Michael Carrick was a top player for Man United. Was at the club for 10 years. And you think now Pogba, but I don't think anyone have got sort of like that combination. You've got leadership, good passer, brilliant goal scorer, great passer. I think them two will probably be the best centre midfield partnership in Man United's history. So I think that was pretty simple to pick.
OK.
And do you know what? They didn't need 3 in midfield. You know, nowadays you think, oh, we'll have a holding midfield player, because he can't defend. They could defend and attack. So you don't need 3 in there. So they did the job of 3 people.
Now, Robbie's gone for a 3-man midfield.
Just to go against yours too.
Looks great on paper.
It does, to be fair. And obviously Xabi Alonso has got everything in his locker to be, well, not to be, but he was a world-class midfielder. He could spray the ball anywhere, any foot. Steve McManaman, for me, was an easy decision.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool have been blessed with unbelievable midfielders over the years. John Barnes, I've mentioned him a few times, Phil.
Yeah.
John Barnes was quality. Now, I'd have loved to have played with John Barnes when he was a left winger, because obviously me being a striker, I think I could have probably scored a few more goals. But later in his career, he did move into midfield, and he's probably unfortunate not to get in this team, but unfortunately, someone has got to be left out, and it is John. But with Steve and the two Steves, Steven Gerrard and obviously Steve McManaman, both class. For me, probably them two are the best Liverpool players I've ever played with. Both different players, obviously. But Maka was, you spoke before about Liverpool in '96 and when we were not a bad team. He was pivotal in us being a great team. We'd give him the ball, he'd run the length of the pitch, and teams would find it hard to get the ball off him. I think he was an incredible player.
Them two there was probably the 2 players that Sir Alex used to talked about McManaman man-marking him, and Gerrard was obviously at Everton and at Man United. We'd say you have to stop Gerrard. Stop Gerrard, you stop Liverpool. Stop McManaman, you stop Liverpool. I think Robbie's right. McManaman, if you think about England in Euro '96, he was phenomenal. Went to Real Madrid, won Champions Leagues. He was I was going to say underrated in terms of publicly, but actually in the game, he was an unbelievable player.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of a pet hate of mine, I think, because, I don't think he gets the love that he deserves.
I was just about to ask you that question.
Yeah.
Because of the way he left Liverpool, do you feel?
Yeah, and also the simple fact is, when he's played abroad, and, obviously Gareth Bale has probably overtook him now, but he was obviously the most successful British player that played abroad. And I don't feel he gets
appreciated.
He gets the appreciation that he deserves, actually.
He played in a Real Madrid side, Zidane, Raul, Ronaldo, Figo, the proper Galacticos. Gareth Bale, obviously, now he's playing in a good Real Madrid side, but he was probably one of the best players in the side with the Galacticos. You speak to those brilliant players, Zidane, they all love Steve McManaman. Why? Because he was a brilliant player.
And a humble guy.
Humble.
Who was in with me last week doing the 1 to 11. Right, back to Manchester United with the wide players and the number 10. Wow.
Well, I think he picks himself. Probably one of the best players of all time. It's where you play him. You play him up front, in behind the striker, right or left wing, can play anywhere. Absolutely phenomenal. The minute he walked into the club, he was probably one of the best I've ever seen. And Giggsy was the left winger when I was a left back. And I've got to say, you talk about wingers nowadays, you think of Hazard, about him just probably staying upfield all the time. He worked up and down. And then later in his career became a central midfield player, then played on the right. And he was just probably one of the best players I've ever played with. And I've played with some great players, but in terms of consistency, work ethic, he was probably one of the best.
And Wayne Rooney picks himself as well?
Yeah, like I say, it's whether he played up front or as a number 10, but you talk about the greatest goal scorer in terms of goals in Man United's history and England, you can't leave that type of player out of the team.
David Beckham has been on the phone, though, asking where he is.
Well, Steve, I think you stole my thunder there. I mean, obviously, Carra's not of mine, but I think Beckham would be too happy with it.
Where do you fit him in, Robbie? You know?
Well, can we not go 12 aside? But just how good was Wayne Rooney? You know, obviously, he came to Manchester United with obviously this euphoria about this young lad from Everton, scored a few goals.
I'd say he's a little bit like Matt Manaman, where he's the greatest goal scorer of all time with England and United. But actually, if you ask United fans, they'll probably talk about Keane, Scholes, Giggs, Ronaldo, Rio, before Wayne Rooney. You know, you talk about statues at a football club. He should have a statue, but actually people don't talk him.
What do you think the reason is for that?
I think because he wanted to leave at one point. I think that didn't go down particularly well.
Manchester City was
and the fact that he played left wing, right wing, he played all over the pitch. We've seen him in central midfield at times. So I actually think he was a victim of... If he came and played number 10 or centre forward all his career, I think he would be that kind of legend. I mean, he was obviously a legend, but people don't talk about him like they talk about Scholes. When people say, who's the greatest of all time, they think Bobby Charlton, Paul Scholes. They probably don't say Wayne Rooney, and he should be talked about like that.
OK, on to Liverpool to complete this team of Robbie Fowlers. What a front three. And you've picked yourself. We'll come to that. We'll come to that in a moment.
My centre forward. You've not named my centre.
No, we're coming back to that.
Oh, sorry.
Back to that. Don't worry, you're not playing with 10. You're not playing with 10. We'll come to you in a moment. Luis Suarez down the middle. There was a few contenders there.
I thought we weren't allowed to pick ourselves.
Would you seriously have picked yourself?
You know what? We go with the front three, and in all fairness, I do feel a bit of a fraud here because obviously this is quality. But I wanted to play in this team, and that's all it was. So it was not me being egotistical. I just wanted to play with these players, and I mean, you look at Mo Salah and what he's achieved the last few years. I mean, there's nothing short of phenomenal. He's a great player. Looks a little bit unorthodox at times. You know, I don't think anyone can deny that fact, but he's similar as maybe like Mane, where, you know, sometimes you don't even know what's going to happen. And I don't think he knows what's going to happen himself. So he'll always get you goals. Myself, as I said, I want to play in it. You know, I'm playing on the left of the three. I'm not sure you're going to get too much running back, to be honest. But again, with obviously Luis Suarez, I think his record at Liverpool was brilliant as well. You know, we signed him for 25+ million from Ajax. When, you know, maybe a few other Premier League clubs could have took a chance, we took the chance. And you've got to say, you know, we made him an unbelievable player. I'm not saying that he wasn't a decent player, but I think certainly improved as a player at Liverpool with all the goals. You think Liverpool under Brendan Rodgers was, you know, synonymous with Suarez, Gerrard, you know, Raheem Sterling was coming in, and obviously Daniel Sturridge, who was pivotal as well. But I mean, he was an incredible player. I think the way he left Liverpool left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth, if I'm being totally honest. But, you know, just for the sake of this team, I'm just picking him just because he's so good.
It's difficult for Robbie to talk about himself, but as we mentioned earlier, Phil, he scored more Premier League goals for Liverpool than any other player. He deserves to be in that front three.
No, I was just thinking about Torres, Michael Owen, Peter Crouch, Heskey. You think of other players, Rush, that I played against, but Robbie was the best finisher out of all of them. And
you didn't say that when Michael Owen was in the other week.
I said the same, didn't I? No, he did. You know, it's funny because obviously, Robbie played with my brother at England youth level, so I saw so much of Robbie. You knew the quality. The quality of his finishing and movement was as good as anything. And I think the unlucky thing for Robbie at international level was there was Shearer, there was Sheringham, there was so many great strikers that, you know, but one of the best finishers.
To be fair though, I think you've always been my favourite Neville.
He's put him on the left against my brother, who's my right back. That's the thing, isn't it?
Right, let's complete your team then, because you were worried you're only playing with 10.
Yeah.
And the centre forward, wow, Ruud van Nistelrooy, what a play! But how difficult was that with the contenders to go in there?
Well, it was difficult. Andy Cole, Berbatov, Cantona was the one. Mark Hughes, Dwight York. But I think he was the best finisher that's ever played for Man United. I really do, in terms of an out-and-out centre-forward, the best finisher I've ever seen. In terms of single-minded, he was Shearer-like, he was Robbie-like. He had that single-mindedness that I've never seen in another striker I've ever played with. He was
01-02, he got 44 goals in all competitions.
Yeah,
Ruud
he
van
was.
Nistelrooy.
But the thing about Ruud was he probably didn't suit Man United, because at Man United your centre forward had to work hard. He had to do more than just put the ball in the back of the net, and eventually that was his downfall. That he was so single-mindedness that at times we'd win games 3-0 and he wasn't happy. You know what I mean? And at Man United the ethos was the team rather than himself, and I think at the end his actual single-mindedness cost him.
Finisher on finisher? What did you think of Van Nistelrooy?
I think he's incredible. I'm just asking Phil there. I mean, I don't know what his opinion on. You know, obviously, when he was signing for Manchester United the year before, he'd done his cruciate.
Yeah.
Now, me personally, I don't think I was ever the same player. Now, obviously, his record suggests that he was still a great player, but you think if he hadn't have had that injury, he would have been, I mean,
The greatest of all time,
yeah,
say.
maybe.
He could have been. I mean, I remember being, I think it was pre-season, I was in it, and someone, and we saw the footage of him training with PSV, and was it PSV, and he went down with his knee, and you thought that was it, because cruciates at the time was sort of like career-threatening, really. He worked so hard. Ferguson have obviously, Sir Alex had promised him that he'd sign him again. I've got to say, I never thought he would have the impact that he did, but his quality, his movement, his goals would always be between the posts. He would never go outside of the 18-yard box. And his single-mindedness was like Shearer, Robbie, like Michael Owen, like where he would kill anybody to get that goal. He was
Okay, let's get the two lineups up together side by side. I think the first question here is there are no current Man United players chosen by you, but when we go across here, we've obviously got Van Dijk, Robertson, and Salah from the current team. And does that say a lot about where we're at today, and of course the history that we've been talking about in the show so far?
Yeah, I think it says a lot about the players who are on. You know, not certainly clubs. You know, I think that's just irrelevant. But you know, you're asked to put together a best 11, and in all fairness, it's incredibly difficult because there's many good players who are leaving behind. Me personally, you know, I would have Van Dijk because of what I was saying before, the way he is. You know, this colossus of a defender who makes everything look easy. Robertson, I mean, that's obviously a big argument because of the left backs Liverpool have had. But I mean, the likes of Salah. Can you leave him out? I don't know if you can.
No, they haven't. That's absolutely fine.
Van Dijk can win you a league. I mean, he's gone to Liverpool. He's turned probably an average back four last season into title winners. I think they could win the title, and he could be that pivotal person. So you think, actually, I can see Robertson and Van Dijk because you think back to the great Liverpool sides. Put Van Dijk into Robbie's side in '96. They could have won the league that year.
Yeah,
so that's how good a player that kid has been. You know what I mean?
Now, on this side of the screen, the fact that you haven't picked a single current Manchester United player, does that show you where United are at the moment and perhaps the standard they've got to emulate?
Yeah, and I think these are all championship winners. And for the last 5 years, United haven't won a league title. And I think that you talk about Pogba. Pogba probably's got the ability to get in that team, but he's got to do it. He's got to win trophies. He's got to be a winner. And that's why I think I go back to sort of like people that have been the course. People on there, 5, 6 Premier League titles, maybe even more. How many gigs he won? 13. So
11 for
you talk about serial winners of trophies, and that's why for the last 5 years, it's why United haven't won trophies, because they haven't got that standard of player. Van Dijk's that type of player that could get in this team. Do you know what I mean? In this team, though, Alonso, Gerrard, McManaman could get in this team because they're serial winners of trophies. The front three would all get into probably the contention to play now. But the current Man United team's not at that level.
I'd love to commentate on this game, actually. How would you see it panning out with these two teams, Robbie?
Well, I'm going for a win.
High scoring one? Clean sheet?
It could be about 10 each, couldn't it? I mean, it's Old Trafford or Anfield.
Wembley. With no suits.
Oh, no.
When you look at that midfield battle, do you know what I mean? Those three, how many times do we have the debate about Gerrard or Scholes or Keane, Alonso and McManaman? I mean, it's just the front six of both teams as like a world 11. You know, Suarez, I mean, he's phenomenal players. So, feel sorry for the back fours, really.
I'm taking Sir Alex and Roy Evans would be the managers.
For me, yes, Roy Evans.
Klopp? No?
Forgot about him.
You'd like to play for him, though, I suppose, wouldn't you?
I think, yeah. You know what? I mean, I love my managers now. It's interesting, obviously, you're a manager now, so it's what route you are. So whether you're technically, tactically very, very good, I'm sure you are. But I think man management is massively important. Now, for me, Roy Evans was the best because his man management style was first class. You know, I said before, you go out there and it gives you that belief. Technically, tactically, probably lacked a little bit, if I'm being totally honest. But I think with Jurgen Klopp, I think he ticks every box. I think technically he's good, tactically he's very good, and obviously his man.
What about Rafa?
Rafa, yeah, again, technically he's superb. A little bit cold at times,
Yeah.
But his ethos was, I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to do a job. And you've got to say he did do a job. For me, it was all about the man. I love man managers, and that's why obviously I would pick. If Jurgen wins the league this year, I mean, he can manage any Liverpool team.
I think Jurgen Klopp was a little bit like Sir Alex.
Really?
Yeah, well, I think great man manager, great. He lifted the supporters. When the supporters looked at this Liverpool team, first thing I see is Jurgen Klopp. Do you know what I mean? And I think Ferguson carried that Klopp does. And I think he's tactically, I think he's good as well. So I think Klopp and Sir Alex are very similar.
Just to round off, for our tunnel cam, you are going to give us Keane and Gerrard to lead the teams out, aren't you? Side by side. Captains.
For me, yeah, I mean, I would. You know what?
Are you the captain, Rob?
He picked himself.
There's a bit of pressure.
He didn't like that Steven Gerrard captain,
I'm
did he?
taking corners, throw-ins, penalties. I mean, if Pepe's struggling for goal kicks, I might take them. But I think when you talk about leaders, I think Liverpool have got a few there. Obviously, Sammy Epi, captain. Obviously, Steve McManaman did. I did. And obviously, Van Dijk, for me, is a future Liverpool captain. So out of them, it is probably an easy choice picking Stephen because of who he is and what he is.
And you're not brave enough to tell anyone else but Roy Keane.
Roy Keane.
Correct.
You tell him.
I'd have had Beck as captain.
That, of course, is a bit of fun, purely hypothetical. When we come back, we're going to get back to the realism that is Sunday. It is Manchester United, Liverpool at Old Trafford, sorry. So much can happen in terms of both teams. And we'll look at the game next.